Dave with Half Dozen Customs, back out here in the shop on the Jeep. Running a little later tonight than I wanted to be on this thing. Just seems to be the name of the game lately. Did a lot of stuff out here earlier. We did a lot of stuff on the Jeep last night. But first time I'm turning on the camera out here tonight. So that's what we're really running late on, is just turning on the camera. Last night we kind of finished putting the bed together. Now this is not final fitment of everything. Stuff still got to get welded in, like the floor and the back piece. But we got the bed put together. You know, the new pieces we made on are back here. The steps are bolted in. Those are in their final resting place. We got the tailgate on. The new floor is sitting in there. This thing is looking absolutely beautiful. My buddy that owns the Jeep was here earlier. Every time I turned around, he was taking more pictures of it. So he is tickled pink with the way that it's turning out. Super happy with it. So today, this morning, afternoonish, this is, you know, I went over to the trailer and dug out some of the stuff. So we're gonna start putting the front end together. So the main thing that's going on right now is that you can see this is where the old radiator sat, and you can see how close, you know, like here's a upper radiator hose, like it is right on the radiator. So there's no room to put the radiator in where it was. So I gotta get the front end put back together, and we gotta figure stuff out. We're gonna end up cutting all this out. Somebody else has already hacked on it. It's been cut with torches. It's got angle iron welded in. It's just not pretty. So my buddy that owns the Jeep went up to the metal shop. He grabbed a piece of that. It's 2x5. So we're gonna end up cutting all this out. We're gonna put a new piece in. That is what, well, essentially it'll hold the front of the frame rails together. It'll hold this front horn that this bolts to, and the radiator will sit on it. So we'll build some, you know, nice new whatever to hold the radiator in. So I think essentially what we're gonna end up having to do here, there's a lot of bang outside. Essentially what we're gonna have to do here is that I think like all this lower section of this is going to have to get cut out, and the radiator is going to sit inside of this. So at least that's the idea that we're kind of leaning towards, is that from the research that my buddy has done on people who put LS motors in these things. They're doing like one of two things. One, they're building a new firewall and a new transmission / drive shaft tunnel, and they're pushing the motor back, and then you have room to put your radiator in where it was. Or they're cutting up the grill and they're making the radiator be able to go farther into the grill. So I think instead of building, you know, spending the time and the money to build a new firewall and a new floor and then have to send the drive shaft out to have that done. You know, I think it would be easier and cheaper to just rework the grill. So I think that, well, that is the route that we're going to be going. So I kind of off camera started working on a new mount, kind of. So this is what they had in there before. This is what that sat on, was this. I don't know, to me it looks like it's just pieces of tire that have been cut, and that's what it's sitting on. It's actually what most of the like body mounts and everything are sitting on. So I knew somewhere from my old mini trucking days, I knew I had a box somewhere of hockey pucks. So I took a hockey puck, and we now have it sitting on that for a body mount instead of this stuff. So we were, you know, it was just a hair taller, I think, than that. So what I did was it's got one of these. It's steel, whatever it is, steel spacer underneath it. So it's sitting like that on top of the frame thing, and then that, you know, goes through the hole, gets bolted on the bottom. We have one of these on the bottom as well. So it's just sitting loosely right now. Next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to work on starting to put the fenders together. I need to, we went through last night, we kind of cleaned up a little bit last night. So everything for this truck is in one spot now. But I gotta go dig through and see if I can find all the hardware for the front end. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and went over to our little cart of parts now, and I found 49 passenger side fender and driver side fender, and we are going to start putting it back together. Now, the reason that I am not just putting all new hardware in like I have with everything else is that this fender is metric thread. The cab of the truck is metric threads, so I don't have metric thread bolts here. So these are going back together with the hardware that I pulled off. It is possible that we will be replacing the hardware on here, but for right now, I am just going to use this stuff. So, we are going to, I know I need the jack, so let's get that. I think the brake lines got moved when they were putting the motor in. Right, I didn't put the motor in. It was kind of there, but it wasn't. Is the motor mount. So I actually had this fender cut out here for the motor mount, and now the motor mount is like back here. So little hiccup there. You can see, so the old motor was mounted here. Now it's back here. So I think I'm just gonna finish cutting that tab off. Doing this stuff down here on this lower section, like I hadn't quite figured out exactly what it was that we were gonna do with all that, because if you remember, these fenders are not off of this truck. They're actually off of the wagon that's outside. And they have two totally different frames in them. So I've been slowly kind of poking at these fenders and trimming them up and cutting little bit by little bit off to make them fit. That passenger side one, now that I'm thinking about it, isn't even, it's not even trimmed for me to put it on yet, so I don't think we're going to be able to put the passenger side one on tonight. Let's just see if we can get the driver's side one on. Getting some new hardware. We can use some new hardware doing the grill to the fender. So I'm not trying to fully put everything together because it's all going to just come back apart, but I need to kind of get an idea of what we're going to do with this whole radiator situation. So okay, so we kind of got that, half-assedly bolted up. I got one bolt in the back at the fender. I got two bolts up here. In the grill core support area, I'll probably throw a couple more bolts in. The fender, I'll probably tighten up the top one. We'll throw a couple in on the bottom down there tomorrow. And then tomorrow I gotta cut that other fender to fit. It's gonna be, trying to put it on, cutting, taking it back off, cutting it a little bit, putting it back on, cutting a little bit more. That's how I did this side. So we got the passenger side fender here. There's a lot of work to do to this fender to make it match this one. If you guys remember back, a while ago when I was working on this fender, there was a lot of work that went into this fender. Now, as far as I know, we don't have to do as much to this fender as we did to this one, like how I split it and moved it and we we took some out of it and we added some to it and this and that. We don't have to do that to this fender, I don't believe. But this whole lower part of this fender needs to be cut off. Like I said in last night's video, and I've said in other videos, this fender came off of a wagon, which is a completely different frame than this one. So when you try to put these on, the bottom of this fender hits on the frame and doesn't allow you to put the fender on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna take some measurements from this one. I have some of the old pieces that came off of the old fender here, so I kind of have an idea of, you know, how much, like, you know, it looks like I took an inch off to, you know, maybe 1 3/4 inches, maybe 2 inches. You know, I don't really remember where this piece came off of exactly. I'm going to say that this came off of the middle here. So I know down here at the front, at the very front corner, we didn't take any off. So it comes from nothing up to, you know, the 1 3/4 inches maybe. So I'm able to take some measurements between that fender, the stuff that I cut off, and we should be able to get a guesstimate. I'm going to start with that and at least try and make both fenders match. Now, I don't know exactly what we're going to do with this fender yet. I'm going to talk to my buddy who owns the truck and ask him, you know, does he want this lip? You know, there's a lip that's on the bottom of the fender. Does he want me to put that lip back? If he does, it's no big deal. It's just some extra work. But looking down inside here, like, it doesn't look bad at all, and I don't think that it's going to be, you know, majorly structural if we just, you know, don't add it back. Like, you know, you can see down here, like, it's just a nice clean cut. Now I definitely need to do something around here. We'll build a little cover for that. But the straight cut, you know, it looks okay to me. I'm okay with just leaving it. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's his truck, so if he wants me to add that back, we will. But I'm going to take some measurements of this first between the two, and we'll start cutting this lower section off so that we can at least get the fender onto the truck. My main concern right now isn't getting this fender ready. You know, that fender's pretty much ready other than stripping and sandblasting it and adding the lip if he wants the lip added. But what I'm trying to accomplish here is we need to get this radiator in here. Right now, if I put the radiator in, it's too close to the front of the motor to put radiator hoses on. So the radiator fits in there, it's just too close to the motor. So we need to push the radiator into the front of this grill. But before I start, you know, taking anything out of the grill, I need to make sure that the grill is going to be sitting in its permanent home. So in order to do that, we got to get this fender on. So I could just put the stock fender that came off of this truck back on, and we could kind of wing it off of that one. But I think I would rather do it with the fender that's actually going on the truck. So enough talking. Let's get my tape measure. Let's grab a magic marker and start marking some stuff out. Where did I put? Here it is. Tape measure. So this one, So I was saying 1 3/4 inches. we are actually inching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/8, an inch and 7/8. So I know that this guy came off of in here somewhere. You know, Colleen was out here helping me kind of clean stuff up, and she's going through these boxes of just, you know, old rusty scrap metal that I cut off, and she's like, what are you keeping this for? And it's like, I always keep everything until the truck is done. And you know, this makes perfect sense as to why I keep everything. If I would have thrown this away, you know, we would have been trying to take guesstimate measures off of, you know, what's still on that fender instead of what I actually cut off. So, you know, I think we're pretty good. I think I can lay out some tape. So we know that we go, you know, from this corner, and it gets wider as it goes up, and even wider. And you can see from this measurement to this measurement, we're really close. So, and then it comes back down to, you know, the 1 inch that I took from this measurement here. So now we'll just I'll lay some tape around there. You guys stay here. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Pretty darn close right there. I'm going to mark this with the magic marker and instead of relying on the tape, because the tape is definitely not wanting to stick. And you can see I'm a little off with that mark. But instead of going up and then back down, I just tried to keep the tape line straight. You know, if I gotta come back and trim a little more off, I will. But let's see, at this top part, just from the bend down, we're about 1.5 inches to the cut. Let's see what we are here. That's saying about 1 inch. So maybe I should have kept it up there at that mark. My bad. So let's do this, let's just remark this guy. Wing it in there somewhere. Alright, you guys shut off on me. I don't know what you guys missed exactly, but the fender's on. So we do have it bolted up. I'm not happy with this gap here. On the other side, we ended up cutting this and I remade a new piece that put this up against the cab to make it a nice tight fit. So I think that we're going to have to do that on that side, which I was already aware of that. That we may have to do that, and if that's the least that we got to do, I'm okay with that. You know, the rest of it looks okay. We don't have this bolted up down here. You know, this gap's a little big here, but again, it's not bolted up, and we still got to replace this cab corner. I have the new one. You can tell that that's all Bondo down there, so who's to say that that is the correct shape down there. We had a little bit of a problem with the bottom of this fender, wanting to line up with the grill. This side lines up nice. You know, it looks to me like this part of the fender, it slopes real nice with the grill, and on this side it looks like the bottom of the fender is sticking out. If you look at the edge of the two pieces of metal here, the inner fender structure is right to the edge of the fender. If you look at this side, there's a good 1/8 inch of the fender sticking out past the inner structure. So I don't think that this fender is welded together properly. It's definitely not welded together like that side. So what I think we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to drill the spot welds in here. We'll have to push the fender back and then re-weld it up. So not a big deal. I don't think that that's a big deal at all. You know, the amount of stuff that I had to do to this fender to make that fender fit the way that it did, I'm definitely not seeing that issue here. There's still some issues, don't get me wrong. You know, back of the firewall, like I said, the front up here, but I think that will be okay. Like I said, main reason that I'm doing all this is so that we can fit the radiator in here. So you know, you can see where the old radiator sat, and if you were to put the new radiator in, like, it is putting that radiator hose right into the radiator. So this one, we bought, this one swivels, so we can swivel this guy wherever we need to. But you know, he looks like he would maybe clear the radiator, but it's cutting it close. So the radiator definitely has to come forward a little bit. I don't think that it's going to be much. Remember, I said last night, we're cutting this center brace out and we're going to replace it with that down there. Main reason I'm doing that is because somebody has already torched and hacked and welded on that piece, and it just it looks like crap. So let's just cut it out, replace it with a nice new piece, and then we can figure out, you know, how to scoot the radiator forward a little bit. I could see maybe that we have to trim, you know, maybe a, you know, an inch off of the inside of this grill. I don't think that we're gonna have to move the radiator forward much. I mean, where these old mounts are, you know, I think that those mounts need to come up as close to this grill as possible. I don't know if you guys can see it in the video. I see it here, and there, if you guys, I don't know if you guys remember, or if I even recorded this or put it in a video, but when this hood was on here, the hood stuck out a little farther on over this headlight than it did on the other side. And if you look down here, you can see that, you know, there's a good sized gap here, and it's less of a gap over there. So it actually looks to me like this whole grill is sitting crooked in here. But you know, there's not much, you know, there's not much that I can do about it moving. I mean, the fenders are bolted up where they need to bolt up. You know, what do we got here? about 4 3/4. You know, 4 1/2, so it's a 1/4 inch off. You know, maybe a fat 1/4 inch. So, but if I was to push this grill back a 1/4 of an inch, then we're going to be a 1/4 inch off on this fender. It's kind of weird, like. It's almost like it's that 1/4 inch that we need back there, but it won't go back any. It won't go back anymore. Grill's busted up here. It's got a crack in it. It's got a crack on that side too. I was really hoping to not do a whole lot to this grill, but I think we're going to be working the grill too. I was kind of hoping with this grill, because I really don't feel like doing all this stuff in here. That kind of sucks. I was kind of hoping to maybe just sand it down and fill a couple of the rock chips that are in it, and then we'll prime it. Looks like I'm definitely gonna have to weld up these corners here. So, and I'm gonna have to definitely think and figure out and see what it is with this. Looks like it can trim a little bit more off of that motor mount. That's keeping the fender from going back some, for sure, because it is hitting up against that motor mount. And we'll just end up trimming it off, like I said. We'll just cut it even, and then it'll match the other side then. Alright, well, we got it on. I have an idea of where we need to go next. For one, I think all this aluminum stuff that they have on the inside of this grill, I'm going to start with removing all that. We're going to remove the lower radiator pockets or whatever, this aluminum that they have screwed down here. We'll remove those, and then we will see like where the radiator sits in here compared to whatnot. It's so weird that it's sitting on such an angle. Last night we came out here, we had the radiator sitting in here. If you guys, in the last video, there was big bulky aluminum brackets, homemade stuff that looked horrible. Those things right there, we pulled those off and we put the radiator in, and it looks like everything's gonna fit okay, so I think we're good with that. Somebody at some point in time has cut this front grille support and put this aluminum stuff on here. I can tell just by looking at it that nothing's cut straight. So I'm gonna pull this aluminum stuff off, and we're gonna get this cleaned up and cut straight. And then I'm probably gonna end up taking the front end off, and we're gonna brace. I got a 1 inch by 1 inch square tubing, 1/8 inch wall. It's thick stuff. We're gonna weld it across the front of the frame rails here, and then we're gonna cut this center piece out. So, but first I'm gonna start with this. Let's get this aluminum junk off of here, and you know, start getting this core support kind of fit up. I had talked about, you know, maybe trimming this back so that the radiator could fit in here to give us room, but once we got the radiator in here, and actually got it all the way up against the core support, like I pulled those aluminum things off I just showed you, and that allowed us to drop the radiator in up against this core support instead of on top of this crossbar, this cross member that they have in here. It seemed like we had plenty of room. Where they had it positioned before and we put it in there, there was no room to run the radiator hoses. So now that we know that we have plenty of room, I think we're gonna pull this aluminum off. We're gonna clean up their jagged, crooked edges on here, and then we'll excuse me, and then we'll go from there. So let's get this off real quick. And well, I don't know about real quick. It looks like there's like a bazillion nuts and bolts and screws and stuff holding all this together. So we'll get this all cut up and cleaned up nice, and what we'll end up doing is we'll just get some like door edge guard to go around this, some rubber door edge guard, instead of this aluminum. A lot nicer, a lot cleaner looking. We're gonna go out tomorrow. Me and the owner of the truck, my buddy, we're gonna go to the auto parts store, and we're gonna pick up some radiator hoses, hopefully. I want to get this center bar cut out, and then we can get the new bar kind of in, and before, you know, it gets welded in, we can make sure it's put in place where we can utilize it for the new radiator. Unfortunately, I need a new blade for my chop box, so I think when it comes time to cutting this, to get it in there, I think unfortunately we're gonna have to mark it with straight lines, and I'm gonna have to use my cutoff wheel to do it, or I gotta wait till tomorrow, either or. But I kind of talked with my buddy last night when he came by about having this ready tomorrow when we go, you know, so when we come back with the radiator hoses, we can, you know, kind of test fit everything. Whoever built this truck last time either really liked aluminum or had it readily available, because there was lots of it. You know, the radiator was held in by it, the battery box was made out of aluminum, the whole bed floor was made out of aluminum. Okay, now that we got all that off, you guys can see how badly everything was cut. you know, I mean, it's not horrible, don't get me wrong, but they cut it crooked. So, not the prettiest of cuts. So I think now, man, it's really sleeting out there, or freezing, raining, whatever you want to call it. I didn't think that I was going to be doing this today. So I'm just marking these wires for, they had inside blinker inside here. They had blinkers, which those are not going to be used. You see them inside the grill there. So they're not going to be used, but just in case, like I have all the lights, like this is all the lighting stuff, and I have it all marked from before when we took this thing apart. So, you know, should we need a diagram of kind of how it was hooked up prior, we can, and I didn't really want to you know, come back later and be like, oh, what the heck is this? So none of this wiring will be getting used, but for reference, like I've said in the past, like I always mark and tape and bag everything, even if it's not going to get used. Except for with the Monte Carlo. That's not getting used in the Monte Carlo. You guys watch me pull the dashboard out of there. I didn't mark or bag or tag any of it because none of it's going back in, and there is 1,000 different wires running through that dashboard. I am not going through and marking all that stuff if we're not using it. This one's simple. There's like 30 wires in the whole truck, maybe. Alright, you guys, I had to go put a new card in here. You guys done filled up on me. So I left off, I was marking this wire over here. So now we can remove those inside lights. Those won't be going back in. I can weld up those holes. You know, we're going to need to weld up these holes that they have drilled all over this thing. So, but let's, I think the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to take this front end back off. For one, you know, I want to cut this and clean this up and get this straight. And I don't want the fenders just hanging here without the support of the grill. So, you know, it's only, I think there's 3 bolts on each side, so we'll just pull them and yeah, we'll go from there. We're gonna trim up this fender as well while we get it off. Now there's a little lip that we kept cutting yesterday to get it to fit, and it was hitting on the motor mount, so you know, I was notching up and over for the motor mount. We're just going to cut it straight across, and it matches the other side then. So, but it was hanging up on that little notch over that I made. So when my buddy came by last night, we were talking about how the truck is kind of sitting crooked. The body, I believe, is sitting crooked on here. I had talked to you guys about how, you know, it's kind of sitting higher on this side than that side, and it's sitting a little crooked on this side compared to that side by like a half an inch. We did measure between the cab and the bed, and that's 1/4 of an inch difference from side to side. And then, you know, we didn't have this side fully bolted up all the way, so I think we could have squeezed a 1/4 inch out of being able to bolt this up all the way. We were hanging up on the engine mount, so clean up the engine mount area, we get everything bolted to the truck. That should give us about a 1/4 of an inch. And then if we square up the cab of the truck, that should give us another 1/4 of an inch. So that should be our half an inch that we're off everywhere. At least front to, you know, side to side, that'll clear up. Now the right to left, where we have the tight gap on the hood over here, that's a little bit of a different story, and we're hoping that if we go through and we redo all the body mounts on it, that'll fix the situation. Now these body mounts that are on here now, they are just cut up pieces of rubber or tire, something. You know, you got those there. You got these here. So, you know, if they're, you know, they're dry rotted, they're smashed, maybe one of them's missing on one side, who knows. But we're gonna go through and we're gonna replace all the body mounts. And on the front of this, I don't know if you guys seen or if I had talked to you guys about this up here, but from my mini trucking days, I have a box full of hockey pucks around here. So I drilled out the center of the hockey puck, and we used this instead of the mashed up tires that they had. We used it as a body mount up front. So I dug them out of the box, and I told him, I said, I'd like to just replace all the body mounts. I have plenty of hockey pucks here. So he actually went home after that and looked up body mounts for these things. And they're not bad. They're only like $2.50 a body mount. But he sent me the link for it, or a picture of the link, and I'm not shitting you. I wouldn't do that. You guys are my favorite turds. They're just hockey pucks. I'm not kidding. I mean, he sent me a picture. I was like, this is just a hockey puck. So we're just gonna use the hockey pucks, I believe, unless he orders them, but I don't see any reason to order them. Let's go through and trying to pick up all the nuts and bolts and washers and everything that dropped, taking all that aluminum stuff off. Man, there's just so many of them. Maybe I'll fill my trays back up, that's for sure. Just looking over here. It looks like this is fresh. It looks like that may have just happened. Only reason I say that looks fresh and looks new is because I don't see any rust around it. So I wonder if we did that yesterday when I tightened that up. We'll have to weld that up. Oh, no, you know what? Look, it's doing it there too. So, well, looks like there's a crack on the firewall right there. So, looks like there's still a couple things that we got welded up there on the cab that I was unaware of. This whole firewall is getting, so I'm not quite sure the route that I'm gonna take yet. But you know, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in this firewall that I think we're gonna, like, here's more cracks here, but we're gonna smooth it out, or so either one of two things gotta happen. Either I gotta go inside, I gotta find out what bolts are for what, and what we're gonna be keeping, using, saving, whatever, whatnot. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of self-tappers, a lot of holes that ain't being used, a lot of holes that they've covered with, I can see, galvanized metal. But he wants the firewall to look just as good as the rest of the truck. So we gotta go through, get rid of whatever we're not using, and weld it up. Or, you know, we may end up just cutting it all out and putting a new one in. So, me personally, that's, you know, what I would like to do, is just cut it out and redo it all. But I know damn well that my buddy's not gonna wanna, he's not gonna wanna do that. He's not gonna wanna go through all that and pay for, you know, cutting it all out, making a new piece, bead rolling it, this and that. But I think that it might actually be cheaper to just do that. You know, I'm thinking that maybe, you know, maybe we just cut like a 1/2 inch all the way around, and just leave a 1/2 inch all the way around, come up around this guy. You know, maybe we leave this part of the trans tunnel here, and then just replace the, you know, this center section, and just make a new piece, put it through the bead roller, you know, maybe make it match with the 3 lines like I did in the step, or, you know, in the back tailgate wall, or we just do, you know, just do some just cool little indents would be, you know, would be cool. I think that might be the easier route. Just cut it out and put a new piece in. So stay tuned for that, because that'll be interesting. That'll be something that we'll be doing. You know, maybe we'll just clean up and weld up the bottom and replace the top. So we'll see. Something's gonna happen with it though. We're gonna make it look cool. Alright, so here's where we're at with this. Enough chit-chatting. I think I'm gonna pull these little blinkers off in here because we're not gonna use them. So I'm just marking this out. So I measured from like this lip here to this cut here, and we're at 2.5, I believe. Yeah, 2.5. So that was the smallest point. Now, because of the way that they have this cut along here with, you know, the whole hood latch up here, I don't want to cut any more off of this, make it weaker. So we're going to keep this up here. The radiator sits below it anyways, so we're good. So I'm going to leave this here, leave that there. Seems like we're pretty even there. But we had 2.5 here, and we had like 2 3/4 here. You could see that it is not cut straight at all. So we're going to follow that along. Last night I was showing you guys in here like the length of this bead roll compared to this one. You can tell that it's off. So, you know, you can see my little magic marker line. So we will run, I'm gonna cut this here now, and then we'll come in and we'll run a tape line going across over to that edge. And then we'll cut that bottom up, and then hopefully it'll be squared up then, and at least look better when it's in the truck. And then, like I said before, I don't think that we really need to go too much farther in to the thing with the radiator. You know, we were talking about maybe, you know, cutting like another inch or two out of this, and we can if we need to. But I think for now I'm just going to clean it up, make it straight, and then we can order that rubber door edge guard so that when it's finished we can put the rubber door edge guard on there, and then that way the radiator has a piece of rubber between it and the shell, that it's not, you know, metal on metal. We're not messing up the radiator, chipping paint on this. Cold coffee. Not supposed to be cold. So, and anyways, he's saying so. Anyways, I don't know if anyways is any better than so. When we do this whole new radiator mount in here, hopefully the radiator won't be sitting up against this. There, you know, might be an 1/8 inch of room between this and the radiator, so that way they're not even touching, because it'll sit in some cups on the bottom, and then we already have some cups that'll come in from the top and hold it from the top. So turn the compressor on yet today, so that's going to kick on momentarily. Alright, I think that looks much better, at least from my point of view now. You know, the real tell-all will be once it's back in the truck, if I can see that it's straight across. So the only other thing that I could see that, you know, maybe we'll do, I told you I didn't want to cut nothing off up here, but I can see like this you know, it's broke here, this metal is broken here, you know, here they left a little bit of meat. You know, there's a little bit of a lip here. They didn't cut this very straight, so I could see maybe cleaning this little edge up here, right here, and then I could see maybe taking just a flat piece of metal, maybe, you know, an inch strip, and running it across here, and then welding it, you know, it'll be flat here. Just to add a little bit more strength. This is the hood latch, you know, and they cut some of the strength out. So, you know, if we just add an inch piece, you know, it'll get welded in on each side, and then we'll weld it along the top. It'll just give it a little more beef to it. So I could see maybe doing that. That would be, you know, the only other thing that I could see doing to this, other than we gotta weld up all the holes that they put in. You know, we gotta weld up this guy, that guy. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side that need to be welded up from the aluminum that they had and the lights that they had in there. We gotta weld up the cracks that are on each side here. But much better, I think. So let's put this to the side for right now. That looks much better just looking down on it like that. Now what I think we're going to do is I think we're going to weld this brace across the top here. So I just want to, more or less, I don't want to set the, you guys are going to be watching. More or less, I just put the welding blanket on there so that we're not shooting sparks and stuff all over. All over the wheels. That's my main concern. The wheels. So we're just welding this bar in up here so that, you know, the frame doesn't move when I cut this centerpiece out. It shouldn't move, but like I said before, this thing's been in an accident that I know of. Who knows what else is going on with it. I'd hate to cut that piece out. And then, you know, something moves in the frame and then the steering's off, or motor's somehow straightens out in there. So just looking at, I never paid much attention to it, but you know, something, that whole thing could be sitting on there wrong, and that could be throwing the front end off as well. So, you know, we're cutting this out. We're gonna keep this piece. As far as I know, as of right now, we're keeping that piece. But we're gonna cut out and replace the other piece. So, and that actually looks like that's not going to be very fun to remove. We're going to cut it out with Sawzall right now, but I'm saying, like, cleaning up that, cleaning up inside this frame might not be very fun. Watch your nose. Mice. It's not the first time that I've seen this on this truck either. When I cut out the rocker on the driver's side, you guys, that's part of the lost footage that we lost. But when I cut open the rocker on that side, it was full of corn too. So last thing I had showed you is, you know, when I cut that out and it fell and hit the ground, it was full of corn. And I was saying that we, in our lost footage, when I very first started this thing, we probably had, I don't know, 20 or 30 videos that we lost because our hard drive crashed and got broken, and we sent it in to have it fixed, and they weren't able to fix it. We still have it. Maybe one day they'll have the technology to be able to fix it, and maybe we can get that stuff back and you know, do some lost footage videos. But when I cut the rocker off on the driver's side, it was full of corn. So we'll have to see when the passenger side, because I'm going to be cutting him off soon. Here, once we get this this situated up here and we get the radiator all situated, then the motor's coming back out and it's going to the build shop to get built. They're doing like heads and cam and stuff, and they're going to tune it and get the computer all programmed and all that good stuff. So while the motor's out, I think we're going to do the firewall, and we're gonna do the firewall, and we're gonna get the cab corner and the rocker done. So then that way, hopefully when they're done with the motor, or I'm done with what I gotta do up here, we're gonna get the firewall actually primed and painted before, you know, the rest of the truck gets done. So that way we can get the motor put back in and possibly have it running and driving. So I'm hoping this is how I'm hoping that it's going to work out. So we're going to get this done up here. The motor's going to leave. It's going to go to the tune shop. While it's at the tune shop, I'm going to do the firewall, cab corner, rocker, and we're going to get the cab body worked out and primed, and we're going to get the core support or the firewall painted. Then the truck itself is probably going to leave. I may, when I paint this, I may jam both doors, and then the truck itself will leave. It'll go back over to my buddy's shop where he can put the motor in and he can actually get it running and driving again while he has it. And then we can do the doors and get the doors done, you know, body worked out, get them primed, get them jammed. Same thing with the front fenders and the hood. I don't need the truck for that stuff. So, and then we can actually get the bed disassembled and painted. And then the truck can come back and we can paint, you know, put the front end back on and then paint the cab and the front end. So that's the plan. Stan. There's a lot of work that goes into all that, but you know, that's my plan of process, I guess, moving forward from this point. So, you know, like I said, I really want to get this thing done this summer. Once it starts getting nice out here and we're done with this 20-degree snow and 30-degree cold and wind, once we start getting into like where it's the 50s every day, 50s, 60s, probably more like the 60s every day, where I don't have to turn on the heat when I come out here in the morning. I think we're gonna kick this thing into high gear and start knocking it out. The Monte Carlo may get put on hold. The mini truck project may get put on hold. And, you know, work 10-hour days until this bad boy's done. So, you know, I do a lot throughout my day, but it's not always a lot on, you know, this. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff I do around the house and around the yard, and, you know, we got 9 acres of land here that we maintain and take care of, and that's the stuff that I do. You know, when I'm not working in the shop, I'm working in the house or I'm working on the property. So, you know, there's some stuff that's going to have to probably get put on hold for me to kick this one into high gear, but we're going to do it. We're going to get her done. All right, lunchtime. I'm out. So now we got to clean up. We got to clean up this stuff. We got to get this stuff out of here. So that's the next step in the process. So yeah, here we go. Enjoy. Man, I don't know what it is, but man, I put these gloves on and I feel like I've been playing with fiberglass. Remember earlier I was telling you that, dude, every time I touch that welding blanket, man, I get all itchy. Dude, I bet you, dude, that's what it's from. But it feels like my inside of my gloves are stuffed with fiberglass. Freaking hate that. So there's a whole bunch of welds in here. You know, they don't look like the greatest welds, but they look like decent welds. I don't think that these are going to be easy to cut apart. So here we go. Let's get into it. Alright, so there's another weld on the back of this guy, back here, that we gotta cut. And then there's a few aircraft rivets that we gotta get to and get those out. And unfortunately, 2 of them are the shock mount. So it looks like I might have to pull the shocks to get this piece out, because we're going to have to knock the rivets off of the shock mount, and then I'm going to have to weld them up. Ain't one thing, it's another. So our plan is that, you know, we're going to get this box out. It's the whole thing that I'm working on. This box out on both sides, and we're going to replace it with a new piece of steel. And then I have 1/8 inch steel plate over there that we will rebox the frame rails here. So me taking this boxing out, we will be putting new one in. So unfortunately, there's just no way to get this channel thing out of here without disassembling, you know, their boxing stuff that they got going on here, which I must say is not the prettiest. But you know, we've been talking the last couple of days about how just nothing seems straight on this truck, and I keep saying that, you know, I know that it's excuse me. I know that it's been in at least one accident that involved a dump truck. Now I asked my buddy, who is friends with the people who we got the truck from, who owned it when it got hit, and they're saying that it got hit right here in the front, like windshield pillar, cab corner, door area. That's where it got hit. I don't see any damages that would entail that happened, so you know, I don't know. Like I said, there was damages on the door, or on that pillar right there, but that pillar was from the door being folded over. I know, because the door pockets were damaged. So you know, not only did I straighten out that cab corner there, but I had to straighten out the pockets. And you could see that the door was overextended and into the truck there. Now, you know, did the door get folded over from a dump truck? Hey, that's possible. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But anyways, long story got turned into there. My buddy that owns the truck said that these things were all hand built. There was no machines, no, you know, no. Of course, there was no computers back there, but there was, you know, no machines or anything back then. It was just people hand building these things. There was just an assembly line. They just put them together, and you can tell. You know, I mean, these things are not the best quality by any means. So that could be a good reason why nothing is straight. Let's see. Now, in the past, these aircraft rivets that I have done, they are usually like aluminum or they are lead, and they usually come right off. Let's see. Okay, well, I got it off. Not exactly come right off. I don't think that they're lead or aluminum, that's for sure. But it is this Friday night, but it's after 10 at night. I probably shouldn't be air hammering rivets off right now. We'll come over here with the whiz wheel and we'll start cutting these welds over here and see if we can get the cap piece off from here. Hopefully there's some rivets on the back side and here. Hopefully I can get to them. Hopefully the motor's not in my way. Kind of looks like it might be. We'll see. They're also these rivets. They're like, you know, double-headed. It's not just where it's a round cap on one side and they smash the other side flat. Like whatever they did, it's a round ball on each side. So, you know, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have to knock off. You know, I just knocked the top off of this one. I think I'm gonna have to go under here and knock off the bottom. I don't know. We'll see. You know, most of the time when I remove these, we knock the head off the one side, and then I put the punch in there, and then punch it back out. So we'll have to see. I'm probably gonna have to, like I said, we're gonna have to remove the shocks, and I'm probably gonna have to take the front tires off so that I can get a straight shot at everything. The bottom ones, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get a punch on them, so they're gonna have to be probably grinded flat and pried or whatnot. Maybe I can get it from the bottom. We'll have to see. All right, let's continue on over here. The one thing that worries me is that there's two big boogery welds right here on the top. Like, I sure hope, like, I don't feel nothing inside, but that doesn't mean that it's not welded. Like, I sure hope I don't have to drill these out. I mean, they're the size of a $50. They're big. I don't even have drills that size. We'd have to drill it to the biggest size that I have and then come in with a reamer and ream the rest of it. to I have my jacket up. We're gonna put it on jack stands. I'm gonna pull the tires off. We'll pull the shocks off, and then yeah, chances are I'm not gonna do much more tonight with getting this piece out, being that I'm most likely gonna use the jackhammer or the air hammer. I do have neighbors here. I try and be respectful, and that air hammer is loud. You can hear that thing clear down the block. So I am out in the country, and you know I do have a lot of land here, but unfortunately the whole one side of my property is houses all the way down. Houses back up to my property, so I gotta try and be respectful. All the other part of the property, you know, we're good. So, but I do have some neighbors. But I'm happy that we got those out. I got to see what all entails of getting everything out here, and I don't think it's gonna be too horrible. You know, I think the next worst thing is, like I said, it looks like there's two giant spot welds here on top of the frame, which once we get all the rivets knocked out of it, then if it's not moving, then I know it's those giant spot welds on the top, which I'm pretty sure that those are welded to the structure, to, you know, the structure we're trying to remove. So we'll have to hole saw those tomorrow. I don't want to hole saw them yet until I know that they are attached to that. Almost positive. So let's just wait and see if we get everything else out and those don't come loose, then we know. I'm just itching like crazy. I swear it's from that freaking welding blanket. You know, and I made sure I had my gloves on when I was messing with that. Now it's like my gloves are wasted with fiberglass. Ugh, I hate that feeling. I think I should take the tires off first. These wheels require a thin walled socket to fit the lug nut. And my impact sockets are thick walled. So I have actually a spark plug socket, which is thin walled. Let's see. Well, that's a bummer. I can tell they're not the right lug nuts, and they were put on with an impact, so it just trashed the threads. Luckily, it looks like the majority of the threads that got trashed are in the lug nut. But the studs, now, I think the studs look okay over here. Over there, there is one that is trashed. I have a tap set. Maybe we can clean it up enough to get by, or he can replace it. You know, if he redoes the brakes on it, it'll come with new studs. So, all right, let's get these shocks off. Okay, let's see. Start over here. Just because my chair is over here. They don't have the metal sleeves in them. I don't know if those shocks are like for this and that's just how they come, or when we bring these in, because I don't know if you can just go in and say 47 shock. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. But may have to push the metal sleeve out to use it. We shall see. Ow! Alright. Well, I think that's it for tonight. I'm done making noise. So it's coming up on 11 o'clock. Like I said, I need to use that air hammer to bust these rivets off. So I will see you guys tomorrow for another fun-filled day of just reconstructing the front frame rails. So hopefully tomorrow we should at least have everything out. Have the new bar cut to size, possibly welded in. Welded in would probably be at the end of the day. So the plan for tomorrow, I'm gonna get up in the morning and one of two things are gonna happen. Either I'm gonna start busting these rivets off and we're gonna start removing these box, or I'm running up to the store with my buddy that owns the Jeep to get a handful of radiator hoses. So if that's the case, if we gotta go get a bunch of radiator hoses, then I have to put the front end back on and we have to hold the radiator up there where it needs to, where we think it's gonna be. And then we're gonna bend a couple of coat hangers into the shape that we need for a radiator hose. So we can then go up to the auto parts store and say, okay, we need radiator hose that matches this and this. And then while we're out, I'm gonna go up to Harbor Freight and I need to pick up a chop box saw blade, and a couple of other things. So yeah, we'll see where we end up in the morning. Like I said, I got a little more work to do on this. We got to put the front end back on, which doesn't take but maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes to throw a couple bolts in it, hold the radiator up. The only thing that sucks with putting the front end back on and holding the radiator in is that everything that the front end sat on and the radiator sat on has been cut out. So we're gonna have to put it up on the jack, I guess. We're getting ready to start taking all these rivets out. It's just gonna be quite noisy. I was looking at this today. If you look at that, like it is super blistered. There's cracks in here. This thing's about ready to fall apart. I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera, but if you take a few steps back and kind of get a bird's eye view of it, it's bent and twisted this way. And that, seeing that kind of stuff makes me happy to see that, because you know, this front end was not sitting right whatsoever. So with that thing being twisted like that, that for sure was holding up this side of the truck. So like I said, how everything was kind of twisted in the front and we were up against the hood over here, you know, there was a gap on this frame that you could slide your finger under, but this side you could slide 2 fingers under. Like, it was definitely off. So seeing that, and I didn't see that last night, I seen that this morning. So but very cool to see that, because now, you know, when we're fixing all that, we can correct it. You know, we'll make sure that the frame is level up front, and then when we weld that piece back on, we'll make sure that that's level as well. So but yeah, let's get to making some noise. I broke out some new gloves from Harbor Freight. I got a bunch of them in my toolbox. Every time I go up there, I buy some. Hopefully gonna be up there in the next day or two, so I'm gonna pick up some more. But no more itchy hands. Last night, even after I went in and took a shower and I went and laid in bed, like, every time the blanket rubbed across my hand, I could feel the fiberglass in there. Like, sucked. So, let's make some noise, shall we? So I'm gonna try to air hammer these. Worst case scenario, we can always cut them off, grind them off, whatnot. But we know, you know, after last night, I was able to get them off with this. It's just very, very loud. All the heads knocked off. There's a couple that I might probably have to go grind. But now I got my little punch guy here, and hopefully we can knock these out now. See. So again, just to show you. So there's these giant spot welds. So I'm gonna try and hole saw it. I did notice while I was looking at everything, there is a weld on the inside of the frame here. So when I was banging on it and it wasn't moving any, it's a good possibility that it was not moving because it's still welded to the frame. So let's cut that. And then we'll check to see if it loosens up. And the two that, so If you guys remember up in the front, like I peeled off like an inner structure of the frame up here in the front. There's some in the back too that go, you know, a good ways down the frame here, and it's actually really fat on the bottom. Not like those. Those only went in like a ½ inch. The ones I cut off of the front, but the ones in the back, it looks like it goes all the way to the outside edge. And this lower rivet on both sides that I can't get out, it's on both sides. There's a rivet that's stuck in there. So it goes through the frame, then through this piece that we're trying to get out, and then through this inner frame structure. So there's an extra piece that's got to go through. So maybe, you know, I'm hoping that maybe once we get everything loosened up here, and maybe try and hit it again, that it'll pop out. You know, my little punch guy is not very long, so I was hitting the frame on some of these before the rivets got out. So it's a good possibility that that's what was going on with this back one back here. That there's just too much going on for me to push out. I'm hitting the frame first. So what I got going on here, I don't know if you guys can see. So there's a weld down this back side, just like there was up in the front. And I'm not able to get all the way down on the weld because I'm running into this metal. So I'm going to try and take a Sawzall, cut this off a little cleaner so that I can get in there. Only thing that sucks about cutting that off is I'm going to be losing my beading area. Like if I want to bead on it, we're about to lose that. So. So I got the head of the rivet off and ground it once, and then I hit it with the punch on the air chisel, and it just didn't move. So that works. Alright, I think. I seen the rivet fall. No, it wasn't that rivet. That thing does not want to come out. Last one. Freaking pain. There's still a good chunk of that left, even though I drove through it. So it looked like when I was drilling, it looks like it spun in there. So I wasn't able to drill all the way through, because you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that in there, but you can see where the drill was drilling, and then it slipped up and went off to the side. So this thing must have spun in there on me, keeping me from drilling it all the way out. Are you guys even still there? Was I just showing you nothing? Nope, you guys are there. You guys won't be for long though. Now that I touch that screen, it's just gonna suck the battery life. I'm watching it go down like a fuel tank on a hot rod. My goodness. What a pain in the butt that was. You could see on this one where I was drilling through, like, you know, because of the leaf spring, I couldn't even get onto the rivet. Alright, battery died. So I was showing you guys on there, like, I couldn't even get on the rivet because of the leaf spring. So I literally drilled through on an angle to get it out. But, you know, it looks like we were trying to get it out of two pieces here, plus the two frame pieces, because there's two. There was this one and then this one that we were trying to get it all out of. So, and that big gap that's in there, it's not a gap from me beating on it or prying or using the air hammer or anything like that. That's the gap from pulling this giant chunk of metal out of there. So now my plan is not to do anything with this back portion of capped, however you want to call it, capped frame, boxed frame. I'm just planning on doing, there may be some that I do that gets attached to this backside. From there, like to the front of the new beam that we're putting in, I may do that, and then from the front of the beam to wherever on the front of the frame, we'll do that too. Because that bar is you know, probably half the size of this frame rail. Whatever we run in the front here will probably go underneath our new bar, just to fill it in, so that way when you look underneath, you're not seeing like a 1-inch gap between the frame and that. So it'll, you know, we'll make a little filler piece for the front, and then it'll drop down and notch underneath. So, and who knows, maybe we'll make it come back up on the other side and connect with this back. All depends. We'll see what it's like once we get that piece in there. Now we got this piece that we got to get out. Hopefully it comes out easier. We'll try the same thing again. I'll try and heat it up with the torch, and we'll try and hit it from the bottom with the air chisel and see if it comes out. If not, we'll get to drilling. But I'm gonna take a break for a minute, have a couple sips of coffee, let my shoulder cool off. So I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I had to feed the dogs, so it took me a little longer to take my little break. I went in to go check to see how everything was going in the house, and it was like, oh, I gotta feed the doggies. So I got that done, and now I'm back out here. Get my gloves or my glasses. Where are my glasses? There they are. Alright. So it's starting to get a little late here. It is the weekend, so you know, I'll go a little extra long, but hopefully we don't have too much air hammering to do, because That is loud. But I'm gonna cut this weld out. You know what? There's a sawzall. Turn this corner off so I can get in there like we did on the other side. All right, guys. Well, so we got those out. We got some speed holes, or some people call them lightning holes. I don't know what we'll do with those. We may leave them. May leave them, may, I don't know, take a piece of that steel, and I'll have to, when I run up to Harbor Freight, whenever I get up there, I'm gonna get a new hole saw, and we can hole saw out a couple of chunks of that, and then, you know, hold them in there with a magnet and weld them up. So maybe what we do, they don't bother me being there because they're both in the exact same spot on both sides. They're nice clean holes. They're not all jagged or messed up, so they don't bother me none. For all I know, this new piece that we put in will land right there, and we can just weld them up. Then I don't know. You know, I'm thinking that we're going to end up going maybe a little bit farther forward with that thing. I'm not really sure just yet. You know, what we're going to end up having here. One of the things was the piece that we cut out. Now, I didn't get to see it, but when the harmonic balancer was on there and the pulley, the belt pulley and everything was on there, he said it was damn near touching that thing. He said it cleared, but just barely. So we're hoping that that thing goes a little farther forward and gains us some room at the, you know, the lower pulley setup and harmonic balancer. So, you know, we'll see where this ends up. You know, the frame does come straight across, and then it drops down, and it gets skinnier as it goes to the front. So, you know, if we go forward past that little drop down point, then, you know, it's either going to be in there on an angle, or, you know, when we drop it down, there we'll be able to weld it at the front, but then there's going to be a gap on the top and the bottom. You know, 3/4 of it will have a gap, and you know, that's where the 1/8" steel comes in. If I have to, you know, we box it off and we weld it all up, and we're good to go. I don't know yet until you know, until we get that piece cut and put in here and find out, you know, exactly what's going on. I do know that if we end up going too far forward, or maybe even just putting that thing back in here, there are bumper bolts on either side that the bumper bolts into, so we may be running into this back bolt, which, if that's the case, I may have to weld a bolt on the inside of the frame here, and then that new bar will get notched out so that when we go to slide it forward, there's a notch on each side that slides up against that bolt, so that we have clearance to push it forward. Or I could cap either end of that tube, and we can slide it forward, and I can mark where the holes are, and then, you know, before I weld the caps on, we weld a bolt on the inside of the cap, and then we cap it. And then when this gets welded in, the bolt will just be in that. It'll be part of it. So we'll see. There's a couple of things here that I got to take into consideration and figure out. Now we still got to clean up the welds on here from all the welds that I cut off from the old box, the old boxing of the frame. we got to figure out what we're going to do with these shackles. My buddy that owns the truck was here earlier. He told me to just weld them up. So that's probably what we'll end up doing. We could easily just throw a nut and bolt in it as well. Not that these will ever have to come off. He said that he's not planning on ever changing it up here so they can stay. You know, the only reason I'd really nut and bolt it is if you ever needed to replace these, it would make it easier to just pop the nut and bolt out and cut the two welds. But anyways, I think that's it for me tonight on this one. We'll be back out here tomorrow to assess the situation. I may make it to Harbor Freight tomorrow to get a chopped box blade so that it's easier to cut that. I talked to my buddy that owns this truck to ask if he was going to be around tomorrow to run up to Harbor Freight with me. But he's not going to be around, and Colleen is not feeling very well at the moment, so we may not be able to make it up to Harbor Freight tomorrow. I may end up just marking that out and cutting it with the whiz wheel. It'll take me 10 times longer, but we'll get it done regardless. You know, looking at this, I was just talking about how these were notched up at the top. The bottom is flat. It's flat. So as long as we keep that down on the bottom, and you know, cap up off on the top, you know, I think we'll be okay. We'll have to see. We'll see once we get all this in there. I'm out, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Remember, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, hit that bell.
Oh.